They say history is written by those who hold the power. But sometimes it's rewritten by those who hold a cup of coffee. In the early 1960s, while America was at the peak of its optimism, a young, charismatic president leading the nation toward a bright future, there was something oddly human about John F. Kennedy that people often overlooked. Beyond the politics, the speeches, and the space race, there were whispers. Whispers about a strange little machine sitting quietly inside the White House, a machine that, according to some, brewed more than just coffee. It was said that President Kennedy had a coffee maker unlike any other in the world, a gleaming chrome device imported from Europe, rumored to have been modified by a secret engineer connected to the U.S. intelligence community. Some said it was gifted to him after a diplomatic trip to Italy, others claimed it came from a mysterious inventor who believed it could sharpen the mind and help with decision-making. Whatever the origin, one thing was certain: Kennedy used that coffee machine almost religiously. Staff members described it as his morning ritual, the one moment of calm before the storm of politics began each day. He would walk into the small private kitchen near the Oval Office, dismiss his aides, and prepare the brew himself, no assistants, no help. Just him and the machine. They said the sound of that first drip of coffee was as regular as the tick of a clock in the West Wing. But here's where the story turns strange. One of his closest aides years later would claim that Kennedy once referred to the machine as his little oracle. According to him, JFK joked that the coffee it made somehow aligned his thoughts. He'd make a cup before important meetings, major announcements, even during moments of crisis like the Cuban Missile Standoff. Some said it wasn't just a joke, that the president truly believed the machine brought clarity, maybe even luck. And the coincidences are hard to ignore. Before the Bay of Pigs invasion, a political disaster, the coffee machine reportedly malfunctioned. The same day, Kennedy hesitated on a decision that would later haunt him. But before the Cuban Missile Crisis, it was said to have worked perfectly, and the result was one of the most skillful displays of negotiation in modern history. Was it just superstition? Maybe. But as the years passed, more and more people began to connect the dots, wondering if there was something else behind that shiny metal shell. After his assassination in Dallas in November 1963, the White House was turned upside down with investigations, security changes, and emotional chaos. When staff later tried to inventory Kennedy's personal belongings, the famous coffee machine was nowhere to be found. It had vanished, no record, no photos, not even a note. It was as if the device had been erased from history overnight. Some thought Jackie Kennedy might have taken it for sentimental reasons. Others believed the Secret Service confiscated it because it had some kind of classified connection. But over time, theories grew darker. Some whispered that the machine had been part of a secret cognitive experiment run by the CIA, meant to test how chemical aromas could influence decision-making. Others believed it contained micromechanical parts that could record conversations, making it the perfect spy tool hidden in plain sight. No matter which theory you prefer, one thing remains chilling. The coffee machine that fueled the most powerful man in the world disappeared the very day his voice was silenced forever. To understand the legend of JFK's coffee machine, we need to go back, way back, to where it might have come from. The earliest trace of this mysterious device seems to lead not to the United States but to Europe, sometime after World War II. Italy, in particular, was the epicenter of a new coffee revolution. Espresso culture was booming, and dozens of small engineering companies were competing to build the perfect machine, sleek, powerful, reliable. But among those companies, there was one that stood apart, a small workshop rumored to have ties with post-war intelligence agencies. It was called Macchina Fortuna, literally the machine of fortune. Now, no one can prove that name ever appeared in official business records, but in certain circles, especially among retired CIA agents and old Italian engineers, there are quiet mentions of it. The story goes that Macchina Fortuna was secretly commissioned to build devices that could test the effect of temperature, aroma, and sound on cognitive function. A ridiculous idea? Maybe not. In the 1950s, psychological experiments like MK Ultra were already underway, exploring mind control, chemical influence, and even sound frequency manipulation. Could it be that one of these experiments somehow crossed paths with the coffee culture of Italy? One version of the legend says an American diplomat stationed in Rome acquired one of these rare prototypes, a polished, mirror-finished coffee machine that supposedly used a unique blend of copper coils and magnetic chambers to energize the brew. That diplomat, years later, became one of Kennedy's early campaign donors. Coincidence? Or the first step in a strange chain of events that would place the machine in the heart of the Oval Office? As the story continues, this machine didn't just make coffee, it created a kind of ritual around it. Kennedy's staff reportedly noticed that every time he brewed a cup, he became intensely focused, calm, almost meditative. His decisions afterwards seemed sharper, quicker. Even journalists covering the administration remarked on his strange calm under pressure. Of course, no one thought much about it back then. It was just part of his charm, the composed, confident JFK the public adored. But behind that charm, some believed there was a subtle secret, that the coffee he drank each morning was part of a mental conditioning routine designed to maintain peak alertness during the most stressful years of the Cold War. Fast forward to 1962. The Cuban Missile Crisis put Kennedy's decision-making skills to the ultimate test. Every word, every pause, every breath could mean war or peace. And according to one now declassified note from an assistant secretary, the president refused to begin any major meeting without his private coffee. The staff joked about it, the commander-in-chief runs on caffeine, but what they didn't realize was that the machine he used was unlike any other in the building. No brand. No serial number. Just an engraved letter F on the back panel, the same symbol allegedly tied to Machina Fortuna. And here's where things get even stranger. Through JFK's death, when Lyndon B. Johnson took over, he ordered all private White House equipment to be cataloged. Team responsible for this inventory listed everything: lamps, pens, even ashtrays. But the coffee machine? Gone. No documentation, no replacement order, nothing. Just a blank space where one of the most peculiar objects in modern presidential history once stood. To this day, no photo of it has ever surfaced publicly. Every known picture of Kennedy's office or private kitchen from that era seems to either cut off the countertop where it supposedly sat or show an empty space that makes historians scratch their heads. Some believe those photos were altered. Others say the truth is still hidden in an archive marked classified. But what if the coffee machine wasn't just a lucky charm? What if it was something deeper, a quiet witness to the world's most dangerous secrets? There's something unsettling about the idea of a coffee machine holding secrets that could change history. But as the years passed, those who had worked in the Kennedy White House began to whisper about moments that just didn't add up. Small details, tiny inconsistencies, things that on their own seemed meaningless but together painted a chilling picture. One of the strangest stories came from a maintenance worker named Robert Lansing. In an interview recorded decades later, he claimed that in the fall of 1963, just a few weeks before the assassination, he was called to inspect a strange smell coming from the president's private kitchen. When he arrived, 2 Secret Service agents were already there, standing guard near the counter. He remembered the machine, shiny, silent, giving off a low hum like a generator. When he tried to unplug it, one of the agents stopped him and said, "That's not your concern, son." He was told to leave immediately. That night, he said, he heard rumors among the cleaning staff that the president's lucky coffee pot was acting up again. But here's the thing, Lansing swore that when he returned 2 days later, the machine was gone. In its place was a simple percolator, the kind you could buy at any department store. Chrome one, the special one, it just vanished, he said. Like it was never there. Now imagine this, a piece of equipment inside one of the most secure buildings in the world disappears without a trace, days before a presidential assassination. No paperwork, no record, no one willing to talk. That alone should raise eyebrows. But it gets worse. After Kennedy's death, the CIA launched a quiet internal review called Project Roebuck, allegedly focused on psychological artifacts and executive performance. Most of the documents from that review are still classified. But a few redacted lines that leaked decades later mention something remarkable, a device of foreign origin associated with enhanced cognitive states. No one knows if it referred to the machine, but the timing and language are suspiciously close. Even more eerie, several of Kennedy's inner circle, aides, secretaries, and military advisors reportedly became obsessed with finding the missing machine after his death. Some believed it held clues about a much larger conspiracy, something involving secret technology or mind conditioning experiments. Others thought it was symbolic, that whoever controlled the machine somehow controlled fate itself. There was even a story about a journalist named Raymond Coyle, who spent years investigating the mystery for a book that never got published. He claimed to have found a technician who worked on experimental coffee machines for a U.S. intelligence front company in the early 1960s. According to that technician, there was a special model built using magnetic resonance to subtly influence brainwaves through smell and sound. He described it as an emotional stabilizer, a tool meant to calm decision-makers during crises. But before Coyle could publish his findings, he died in a car accident under unclear circumstances. His notes were never recovered. And yet, people kept searching. Decades after the assassination, collectors, conspiracy theorists, even ex-intelligence agents have hunted for what they call the Fortuna device. There are claims of one being spotted in a private collection in Zurich, another in a Cold War museum in Prague, each citing unconfirmed, each story slipping into the fog of rumor. But maybe the real mystery isn't whether the machine still exists. Maybe it's what it represents, the idea that a simple ritual, a single sip of coffee, could be tied to one of history's most powerful minds. Maybe it wasn't the caffeine that made Kennedy sharp. Maybe it was something else brewing beneath the surface. Something that science still can't explain. And if that's true, if the president's greatest strength came from a machine that vanished without a trace, then maybe history itself was rewritten by the turn of a knob and the hiss of steam. Every great mystery hides behind ordinary things, and maybe that's why the story of JFK's coffee machine feels so disturbingly possible. By 1963, the White House was already a hive of surveillance, microphones in walls, phone taps for security, classified communication lines buzzing like invisible veins through the building. But some conspiracy theorists claim the coffee machine wasn't just another appliance, it was the perfect spy tool, sitting right in front of the president, recording every whisper, every plan, every secret. A former NSA technician named Harold Ellison, interviewed in the 1980s, swore he once saw an internal memo referencing an unregistered acoustic device located in the executive wing, believed to be part of the European equipment. He said the memo vanished a week later, replaced by an order labeled "Security Breach Neutralized." Neutralized. A strange word to describe a kitchen gadget, don't you think? Ellison believed the device was built to transmit faint sound waves, disguised within the hum of boiling water. In theory, it could capture voices and encode them into subtle frequency patterns, which might then be picked up remotely by another receiver. If that's true, the coffee machine wasn't just brewing, it was listening. What makes this theory even more chilling is what happened after JFK's assassination. Multiple intelligence files were sealed, and an internal sweep of the White House removed nearly every piece of unverified foreign technology. Some say this was standard security protocol. Others believe someone wanted to make sure no trace of that machine, or what it might have recorded, would ever surface again. And yet, whispers persist that fragments of those recordings exist, buried in an anonymous archive under a different name, transferred between agencies like a ghost no one dares acknowledge. Now picture this, a reel-to-reel tape found in an estate sale in Virginia in 1978. The label simply read F Room 62. When played, it contained faint static, the sound of a kettle hissing, and according to audio experts, the unmistakable voice of a man saying, "We'll do it quietly." No mistakes this time. The rest of the tape? Burned in a mysterious fire weeks after discovery. Coincidence? Or cleanup? For those who believe in the legend, the machine didn't just record, it influenced. Some think it emitted subsonic tones designed to keep the president calm and compliant, almost like hypnosis through sound. If that's true, the coffee ritual wasn't simply a habit. It was programming. Each morning, he wasn't just starting his day, he was being tuned like an instrument of policy and persuasion. Controlled not by caffeine, but by invisible frequencies and the men who designed them. And maybe that's why it had to disappear. Because if the machine was destroyed, the evidence of that manipulation died with it. But what if it wasn't destroyed? What if someone, an aide, an agent, or even Jackie herself, smuggled it away, keeping it out of sight, out of reach, waiting for the world to forget? Over the decades, collectors have claimed to own replicas of the machine, brushed steel, brass switches, a small plaque with the letter F, but none of them match the original description. Some swear they hum when plugged in, even without power. Others say they smell faintly of burned espresso and oil, like something that's still alive, still waiting to wake. Because maybe the enigma of JFK's coffee machine was never about the coffee at all. Maybe it was about control, over thought, over choice, over destiny. Maybe the machine didn't just disappear. Maybe it was hidden because it worked. Decades later, long after the echoes of Kennedy's death had faded into the history books, the story of the coffee machine resurfaced, quietly, like a signal from the past that refused to die. It began with a collector named Martin Duval, a retired electronics specialist living in Massachusetts. In 1999, Duval claimed to have purchased an unmarked European coffee machine from an estate auction in Arlington, an auction that, coincidentally, contained items from a former White House staffer's family. The machine was old but striking, polished steel, a subtle letter F engraved in the back, and wiring unlike anything he'd seen before. When he plugged it in, he said it emitted a faint hum, a frequency he could feel in his chest more than hear with his ears. Duval grew obsessed. He began testing it with frequency meters, electromagnetic sensors, even thermal scanners. According to him, the readings made no sense. The machine generated a low-band pulse that oscillated between patterns, not constant but intentional, almost like it was communicating. He tried to disassemble it, but the deeper he went, the stranger it became. The interior was lined with copper tubing and tiny crystalline nodes, not standard coffee machine parts. Some looked like components used in Cold War transmitters, others like miniature tuning forks made of silver. Duval kept detailed notes and even contacted a few engineers for opinions. Within weeks, he started receiving anonymous emails warning him to stop taking it apart. Then came the most disturbing part. Duval recorded an experiment in which he brewed coffee using the machine for the first time. In his journal, he wrote that the sound of the water was melodic, almost hypnotic, and that he felt unusually clear-headed afterward, focused, calm, and eerily alert. He wasn't a superstitious man, but something about the experience unsettled him. Later that night, while reviewing his recordings, he claimed to hear faint voices underneath the sound of boiling water. He played it over and over. The voices were distant, but one line stood out, chilling and unmistakable. "You shouldn't have found me." That was the last note in Duval's diary. Days later, he vanished. His house was found undisturbed, coffee cups still on the counter, the mysterious machine gone. Investigators ruled it a missing person case with no foul play, but locals swear federal agents showed up quietly that same night, loading something heavy into a black van. No trace of Duval or the machine has ever been found. But then, in the early 2000s, online forums began lighting up. Anonymous users posted blurry photos of a machine that looked strikingly similar, the same metallic finish, the same letter F. One image, allegedly from a government storage facility in Nevada, showed the machine tagged with the word evidence. Post vanished within hours. Accounts were deleted. The thread was erased. But screenshots survived, and with them, a new generation of believers emerged, people who began calling it the Oracle of Camelot. They said it wasn't a tool. It was a transmitter, not of sound, but of thought. That it somehow captured fragments of consciousness, turning human emotion into energy. A machine capable of amplifying focus, maybe even influence. Some speculated that Kennedy's charisma, his uncanny ability to connect with people, wasn't entirely natural. That he, knowingly or not, had tapped into something beyond science, an artifact that bridged mind, machine, and destiny. To this day, no one knows if Duvall's discovery was the real thing or a hoax. But one fact remains: every person who claimed to have seen or owned that machine either disappeared, retracted their statements, or went silent. And if you believe in patterns, silence speaks volumes. Because maybe the enigma isn't just history's lost relic. Maybe it's still out there, waiting for the next curious hand to wake it up again. Every mystery ends where it began, with a question. What if it was all true? What if somewhere, hidden in a forgotten vault or a private collection, the coffee machine that once sat beside the President of the United States still hums quietly, waiting to be switched on again? The idea sounds like science fiction, but history is filled with secrets stranger than fiction. And when you start connecting the dots, the missing inventory reports, the untraceable European manufacturer, the eerie coincidences surrounding those who tried to uncover it, you start to wonder whether the enigma of JFK's coffee machine was ever really meant to be solved. Some researchers believe the machine was destroyed long ago, melted down, dismantled, erased from existence like a ghost that had done its job. Others, however, are convinced it was recovered, re-engineered, and adapted for modern use. There are even claims that a government contractor developed a neural resonance prototype in the late 1980s using technology inspired by recovered artifacts. Of course, there's no proof, only whispers. But the legend refuses to die. It lingers in late-night radio shows, in secret forums, and YouTube rabbit holes where every shadow in an old White House photo is analyzed pixel by pixel. And here's the thought that chills even the skeptics. What if the power of the machine was never about technology? What if it was psychological? Maybe it wasn't the coils or the copper or the secret engineering. Maybe it was the ritual, the quiet moment every morning when the most powerful man in the world believed he was in control of his destiny. Belief is the oldest kind of magic. When a leader truly believes in something, luck, fate, or even a simple machine, that belief can shape decisions, change outcomes, alter history. Maybe the real enigma wasn't the device at all. Maybe it was Kennedy himself. Still, the mystery continues to evolve. Every few years, a new clue surfaces, a declassified note here, a blurry photo there. In 2016, an anonymous email was sent to a conspiracy researcher's inbox. Attached was a single image, a metallic reflection, a faint F engraved on steel, and a date, 1962 West Wing. No explanation, no name, just that one haunting detail. And below the photo, 5 words that reignited the obsession. It was never about coffee. Now think about that. What could it mean? Was the machine part of something bigger, an experiment in perception, in control, in influence? Or was it simply an ordinary espresso maker caught in the storm of America's most mysterious presidency? We may never know. But the unanswered questions keep pulling people back in because deep down we all crave the same thing Kennedy might have sought from that machine every morning: clarity. Kind that cuts through noise and chaos. Kind that makes impossible decisions feel certain. And maybe that's why this story still fascinates us. Because even if the coffee machine never existed, it represents something timeless: humanity's endless search for understanding and the dangerous beauty of curiosity. The kind of curiosity that built empires, sent men to the moon, and sometimes uncovered truths the world wasn't ready to face. So next time you brew your morning coffee, listen closely. The hum, the drip, the faint hiss of steam, it's the sound of ritual, of focus, of possibility. Maybe that's what Kennedy heard too. Maybe that's what made him believe. If you've stayed with me this far, thank you for diving deep into this strange, haunting story. If mysteries like this captivate you as much as they do me, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and drop a comment below telling me what you think really happened to JFK's coffee machine. And of course, share this video with that one friend who loves a good conspiracy, because some secrets are just too good to keep to yourself. Until next time, keep your mind open and your coffee hot.